Have you ever learned something today and then completely forgotten it a few days later? Maybe you read an interesting book. Maybe you learned someone's name. Or maybe you studied something important, but when you try to remember it later, your mind suddenly went blank. But what if you don't have a bad memory? What if you simply don't know how memory works? In today's Speak English Daily lesson, we're going to explore the science of memory and learn some simple techniques that can help you remember almost anything. And this is also your English speaking practice. A paragraph will appear on your screen. Your job is simple. Read it aloud together with a narrator. Follow the words, speak clearly, and try to match the narrator's natural rhythm and pronunciation. Don't worry about speaking perfectly. The goal is to keep speaking, become more comfortable with English, and build your fluency step by step. So, get ready to learn something useful, practice your English, and discover how to build a better memory. Let's begin. Before you try to remember something, you first need to notice it. Your brain receives a huge amount of information every moment, but it cannot store everything equally. Attention acts like a filter. Think about what happens when you read while checking your phone, or when someone is talking to you, but your mind is somewhere else. You may hear the words, but you may not really remember them later. The same thing happens when you study without paying full attention. The information may never be stored clearly in the first place. So, here's one simple memory habit. Give the information your full attention, even if it is only for a short time. Look at it, listen carefully, and ask yourself, what is the main idea? You're not trying to force the information into your brain. You're simply giving your brain a clear signal that this information matters. And the better your attention is at the beginning, the easier it becomes to remember later. We remember information more easily when it has meaning. Instead of trying to memorize a list of unrelated facts, try connecting new information to something you already know. Imagine you meet someone named Rose. Instead of repeating her name again and again, picture a beautiful rose and connect that image with the person. Now, the name has a meaning, and your brain has something visual to hold on to. You can use the same technique when learning new vocabulary, facts, or ideas from a book. Create a simple story. Make a picture in your mind. Find a comparison, or connect the information to something from your own life. In fact, the more unusual or interesting the connection is, the easier it may be to remember. Your memory is not simply a collection of separate pieces. Your brain builds connections between ideas. So, whenever you learn something new, ask yourself, what does this remind me of? When new information becomes connected to something you already understand, you create more path for finding that information again. One of the most useful ways to strengthen your memory is to practice remembering. After reading a page, close the book and ask yourself, what can I remember? What was the main idea? What were the important details? Can you explain the idea without looking at the page? This technique is called retrieval practice. It may feel harder than simply reading the same information again, but that difficulty is actually useful. Every time you pull information out of your memory, you're practicing the process of finding it again. You can use simple questions, flashcards, or even explain the idea aloud to yourself. And if you cannot remember something, don't worry. Check the answer, understand it, and try again later. The goal is not to prove that you already know everything. The goal is to train your brain to retrieve information when you actually need it. If you want information to stay with you, don't try to learn everything in one long session. Instead, come back to over time. This technique is called space practice. For example, you might review something today, test yourself again tomorrow, and then revisit it a few days later. Each time you return to the information, your brain gets another opportunity to strengthen the memory. But there is one important step. Before checking your notes, try to remember what you learned. A little forgetting can actually be helpful. When you make an effort to retrieve an idea, you are giving your memory a workout. You can use this method for English vocabulary, names, facts, presentations, or anything else you want to remember. Short, repeated practice is often more effective than one long and exhausting session of memorization. The strongest memories are often connected to action. If you learn a new word, use it in a sentence. If you read an interesting idea, explain it to someone. If you learn a skill, practice it instead of simply reading about it. Using information gives your brain more opportunities to connect it with real experiences. You can also make memory more personal by asking, where could I use this? Or how does this relate to my life? Remember, the goal is not to remember every piece of information you ever encounter. The real goal is to make important information easier to find when you need it. Pay attention, create connections, retrieve what you learned, review it over time, and use it in real situations. These simple habits can make your memory much more reliable. Congratulations! You've just completed another English read-aloud practice session. Today, you didn't just read English. You practiced speaking continuously, followed natural sentence rhythm, and worked on speaking with greater confidence. Every time you complete a session like this, you take another small step toward becoming a more comfortable English speaker. Let's quickly review what you learned. First, you learned that a better memory is not simply about having a naturally powerful brain. You can improve your ability to remember by paying attention, making information meaningful, practicing retrieval, reviewing information over time, and using what you learn in real situations. You also practiced English speaking skills today. You worked on pronunciation, speaking rhythm, sentence flow, vocabulary, and continuous speaking. You practiced useful expressions such as pay attention, make connections, retrieve information, and over time. Now, here's a question for you. Which memory technique are you going to try first? Paying more attention, making connections, testing yourself, space practice, or using what you learn? Share your answer in the comments. It might also give someone else a useful idea to try. Well done today. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and remember, fluency grows through consistent practice.